Hello, and welcome. Find a place of comfort and let the world outside your window fall away. Tonight, we are not just exploring a place or a moment in history. We are embarking on one of the greatest continuous journeys on Earth, a journey that is measured not in hours, but in days and time zones. A slow passage across the sleeping shoulder of the world. As my voice reaches you on this evening, I invite you to share your own time and place in a quiet comment below. To be gently notified of our future journeys into the past, you might also consider subscribing to our community. It is a peaceful thought to know we are all sharing this stillness together across the hours and the miles. Tonight, we are boarding the Trans-Siberian Railway. This is a journey of almost mythical scale, a steel track laid across 10,000 kilometers of forest, steppe, and mountain, but we will not be seeking adventure in the traditional sense. We are not here for dramatic encounters or bustling tourist sites. Our purpose is quieter. We are here to surrender to the journey itself, to the profound and hypnotic rhythm of the wheels on the endless track. For 7 days and 7 nights, our world will shrink to the gentle sway of a single carriage, to the view from a single window. We will watch as the largest country on Earth unfolds before us, not as a series of destinations, but as a slow, dream-like transformation of the landscape. We will embrace the quiet routine of life on board, a life measured in cups of tea from the ever-present samovar and the brief, cold air of a 20-minute stop in a town whose name we may never know. This is a meditation on distance, on time, and on the quiet internal world that opens up when the external world becomes a simple, rhythmic blur. Join me now as we step into the grand station, leave the world of fixed points behind, and give ourselves over to the great hypnotic of the train. Our journey begins not with a sudden lurch or a blast of a whistle, but in a place of deep and resonant stillness. We are in Moscow at the Yaroslavsky terminal. This is not just a station. It is a gateway, a secular cathedral dedicated to the vast, almost unimaginable expanse of the East. Its architecture speaks of fairy tales and ancient fortresses, a final grand statement of the European world before we depart into something else entirely. The air is cool and still. The usual frantic energy of a great railway hub is absent, replaced by a quiet, purposeful calm. Inside the great hall, the ceilings soar high above, echoing the soft shuffle of a few scattered passengers and the low, melodic murmur of the Russian language. Footsteps echo on the marble floors. The light is soft, coming from ornate chandeliers that cast a warm, gentle glow, a stark contrast to the cool, dark blue of the world outside the grand, arched windows. There is a sense of immense potential energy held in check, of a great journey about to be born from the stillness. We make our way from the waiting hall out onto the long, open-air platform, and there it is, our home for the next week. The Russia, the train. It does not look like a modern, streamlined machine. It is a creature of substance and endurance. A long, seemingly endless chain of deep green carriages, each marked with the proud, Cyrillic lettering of the Russian railways. A thin layer of frost or dew might be settled on its windows, a hint of the cold it is built to withstand. A gentle hiss of air from the brake lines is the only sound the train makes. It seems to be sleeping, gathering its strength. We walk along the platform, our footsteps a quiet counterpoint to the low hum of the station. We are looking for our carriage number. At the door of each carriage stands a figure as constant and as iconic as the train itself, the Provenitsa. She is the carriage attendant, a woman of stern and steady composure, dressed in a simple, dark, functional uniform. She is the guardian of this small, mobile world, and it is with her permission that we will enter. We present our ticket. She checks it with a sharp, efficient eye, her expression neutral, professional. There is no fawning welcome, but a simple, authoritative nod. This nod is our permission to step out of the static world of the station and into the moving world of the train. We climb the steep metal steps and enter the narrow corridor. The air inside is immediately different. It is warm, and it carries a unique scent, a mixture of clean linen, strong Russian tea, a hint of coal smoke, and the faint, metallic smell of the machinery that is the train's lifeblood. We make our way down the carpeted runner, finding the door to our compartment. It is a small, perfect, self-contained universe. 2 soft berths which serve as sofas during the day, a small table by a large, clean window, a single reading lamp, a small compartment for luggage. It is simple, functional, and deeply comforting. This small, wood-paneled room will be our sanctuary, our viewing platform, and our cocoon as we are pulled across the largest country on Earth. We place our bags down, perhaps smooth the clean linen cover on the berth, and take a seat by the window. The station lights cast a soft, striped pattern into our small room. The journey has not yet begun, but in this quiet, preparatory stillness, we can already feel its immense and peaceful gravity. We are ready. All that is left to do is wait. The final moments in the station are a slow, gentle decrescendo. The low murmur of the platform fades as the last passengers board. A final, disembodied voice makes an announcement over the station speakers, its words muffled and indistinct through the thick glass of our window. It is a sound that is not meant to be understood, but simply to be heard as the final ceremonial utterance before the journey commences. A distant, mournful note from the engine's horn echoes through the station's great hall. It is not a shrill, impatient blast, but a deep, resonant call, the sound of a great beast stirring from its slumber. Then we hear a solid, reassuring thump as the carriage doors are closed and locked by the provenza down the corridor. A gentle hiss of compressed air is released from the brakes, and then for a moment the silence deepens once more. And then it happens. It is not a sudden jerk. It is a feeling before it is a sound. A slight, almost imperceptible tightening in the couplings that connect the carriages. A deep, low groan of stressed metal, the sound of immense inertia being overcome. A slow, heavy, deliberate lurch. The journey has begun. From our window, the platform begins to slide backwards. At first, the movement is so slow it is almost an illusion. The numbers on the platform markers, the faces of the few railway workers left behind, glide past with a dreamlike slowness. The grand arches of the Yaroslavsky terminal, which had been our entire world, begin to recede, framed by our window like a fading memory. Now, the central character of our journey makes its voice heard, the sound of the wheels on the track. In the complex web of the station switching yards, the rhythm is slow, deliberate, and complex. A heavy, percussive K-thunk, K-thunk, as the bogies pass over the points and crossings. It is the sound of the train finding its path, of making the crucial first choices that will set its course for the next 9,000 kilometers. As we leave the station yards behind, the train begins to gather speed. The complex, halting rhythm of the points gives way to a simpler, more powerful meter. The slow ka-thunk quickens, smooths out, and merges into the single, most hypnotic and comforting sound in the world of travel, the steady, endless, rhythmic clickety-clack. Clickety-clack, clickety-clack of the wheels passing over the expansion joints in the rails. This is the heartbeat of the Trans-Siberian. It is a sound that will become our mantra, our lullaby, the constant, unchanging rhythm that will underpin our every thought and dream for the next 7 days. We lean our head against the cool glass of the window and watch as Moscow dissolves. The last of the grand buildings give way to the stark, utilitarian apartment blocks of the Soviet era. The bright lights of the city center are replaced by the scattered, lonely lights of the suburbs. Then these too begin to thin. We see the first patches of dark, open country. And then we see them. The first silver birch trees, their white trunks ghostly in the fading light. Soon, these trees will not be a novelty. They will be the entire world. The train settles into its steady, powerful rhythm. We are free of the city. We are on the endless track. The train is now a self-contained world, a moving village gliding through the immense Russian night. Life within this village quickly settles into a simple, comforting, and predictable routine. This routine is governed by two constant, reassuring presences, the Providnitsa and the Samovar. The Providnitsa is the undisputed authority of the carriage. She is more than a simple attendant. She is the guardian, the quartermaster, and the matriarch of this small community. She may be a younger woman or a stout, grandmotherly figure, but her demeanor is always one of quiet, professional competence. Her small cabin at the end of the corridor is the administrative center of the car. It is from here that she dispenses clean, sealed packets of linen sheets, a pillowcase, a small towel. It is here that she keeps her logbook, noting every passenger. Her own routine is a quiet ballet of efficiency. In the morning, she will walk the corridor with a simple broom, sweeping the runner with short, rhythmic strokes. Throughout the day, she ensures the washrooms are clean, that the bins are emptied, that the carriage is kept at a comfortable temperature. She is the keeper of order. Her presence is a constant reassurance that even as we travel through the wild, remote heart of Siberia, this small, human space will remain safe, clean, and predictable. She is the still point in this moving world, and her most important duty, the one that makes life on the train not just possible but deeply comforting, is the care of the samovar. At the end of every sleeping car on the Trans-Siberian Railway, there is a large metal urn, an electric or coal-fired boiler that provides a constant, limitless supply of boiling hot water. The samovar is the heart of the carriage. It is the communal hearth, the ever-present source of warmth and comfort. Its gentle hissing and steaming is a constant, reassuring sound, a domestic counterpoint to the rhythmic beat of the wheels. The ritual of making tea is the central, defining act of the journey. At any time of day or night, a passenger can leave their compartment, walk the quiet corridor to the end of the car, and approach the samovar. We take our personal mug and a simple tea bag. We hold the mug under the heavy metal spigot and turn the small lever. A stream of perfectly clear, scalding water rushes out, its steam warming our hands and fogging the cool air of the corridor. We carry the full hot mug carefully back to our compartment. We sit by the window and watch the endless forest glide by. The steam from the tea fogs the lower part of the cold window glass. We hold the warm ceramic in both hands. The simple, familiar taste of the tea is a profound comfort, a small, domestic ritual that makes this strange, remote landscape feel like home. This act, the short walk to the samovar, the preparation of the tea, the quiet sipping by the window, will be repeated countless times. It is a ritual that breaks up the long hours. It is a ritual that warms the body and calms the mind. It is the simple, unchanging pulse of life on the endless track. The first morning on the train is a quiet revelation. We awaken not to the sounds of the city, but only to the steady, rhythmic heartbeat of the wheels on the track, a sound that has already become a familiar part of our consciousness. We draw back the small curtain from our window, and the world we left behind is gone. Moscow, with its grand stations and bustling streets, has vanished. In its place is something else entirely. Something vast, silent, and overwhelmingly beautiful. We have entered the taiga. For the next few days, this will be our entire world. The taiga is the great boreal forest, a seemingly endless belt of green and white that stretches across the continent. To look out the window is to lose oneself in a landscape of magnificent, calming monotony. It is a visual mantra, a landscape that does not demand attention, but gently receives it. The dominant figures in this landscape are the birch trees. They stand in their millions, their slender, paper-white trunks rising from the snow-covered ground like the columns of a forgotten temple. They are not a uniform, solid wall, but a deep, layered ocean of silver and white. As the train moves, the trees slide past in a hypnotic parallax dance. The closer trees rush by in a white blur, while the ones deeper in the forest glide past with a slow and stately grace. Watching them is like listening to a piece of minimalist music, a theme of vertical lines with infinite subtle variations. Their bark, a brilliant paper white, is scarred with dark horizontal slashes like a cryptic alphabet written by the forest itself. Interspersed with the pale birches are the dark, solemn spires of pine and fir trees. They stand heavy with snow, their deep, dark green a somber and grounding counterpoint to the airy lightness of the birch. They add depth and shadow to the forest, a sense of ancient sleeping power. The character of the forest is a constantly changing reflection of the light. In the early morning, the low sun slants through the trees, casting impossibly long blue shadows across the pristine snow. The entire world feels cool, clean, and full of a quiet, new potential. At midday, with the sun high overhead, the light is flatter, more uniform, and the forest becomes a simple, beautiful pattern of black and white, a living woodcut print. But it is in the late afternoon that the taiga reveals its most gentle magic. As the sun begins its descent, the light turns to a soft, liquid gold. It filters through the trunks, bathing the entire forest in a warm, ethereal glow. The white bark of the birch trees seems to absorb the golden light, radiating a soft warmth of its own. It is a time of profound and peaceful beauty, a slow, silent farewell to the day. To travel through the taiga is to recalibrate one's sense of scale and time. There are no landmarks. For hours, even for a full day, the view remains fundamentally the same. A river of trees endlessly flowing past the window. This lack of external distraction has a powerful effect on the mind. With nothing new to press us, the mind is invited to become still. Thoughts that have been racing begin to slow down, to find their own natural rhythm, in time with the gentle sway of the carriage and the steady beat of the wheels. It is a journey not just across a landscape, but into the quiet, spacious landscape of the self. Then, just as the mind has fully surrendered to the beautiful monotony, the pattern will be broken. A small clearing appears. A frozen river cuts a stark, white path through the dark woods. Or, most movingly of all, a single, lonely wooden house, a daisha, with a thin wisp of smoke rising from its chimney, a tiny, brave testament to human presence in this vast, overwhelming wilderness. These small events become monumental, their beauty magnified by the endless sameness that surrounds them. Then they are gone, and we are once again returned to the gentle, hypnotic, and endless sea of birch. For hours, sometimes for half a day, the only constant is motion. The world is a fluid, flowing river of trees and snow, viewed from the quiet stillness of our compartment. But this hypnotic state is not eternal. It is punctuated by brief, precious islands of time. These are the station stops. The change begins subtly. The familiar lulling rhythm of the wheels on the track begins to lose its urgency. The clickety-clack slows, each beat becoming more distinct, more individual. The train sighs, a long, drawn-out hiss of air from the brakes, a sound that signals its surrender to stillness. The endless forest resolves into individual, identifiable trees. A small, sturdy, pastel-colored station building slides into view. The train glides past it, slowing, until with a final, gentle shudder, it comes to a complete stop. The silence that follows is profound. The absence of the train's motion and sound is a physical presence. For a moment, the world is perfectly still. Then, a new set of sounds emerges. The quiet click of the compartment door opening into the corridor. The voice of the Provenitsa making a firm, clear announcement in Russian, the most important part of which is the number. That's that minute. 20 minutes. She unlatches the heavy carriage door, and the second great sensory shift occurs. A rush of intensely cold, clean Siberian air floods the warm corridor. It is a shock to the system, a bracing reminder of the vast, wild world we have been gliding through. It smells of pine, of snow, of immense distance, and perhaps the faint mineral scent of burning coal from a nearby chimney. We descend the steep steps, and our feet touch solid ground for the first time in many hours. The feeling is strange, a momentary unsteadiness after being accustomed to the constant, gentle sway of the carriage. We are now inhabitants of a 20-minute world. The platform is a simple affair. A long stretch of concrete or weathered wooden planks, a small station house with the town's name written in the bold, Cyrillic alphabet, a name we have never seen before and will likely never see again. The sky above feels impossibly vast and open after the enclosed world of the train. And here, on the platform, is the heart of this temporary world, the babushkas. These are local women, grandmothers from the nearby town, bundled in so many layers of thick coats, woolen scarves, and felt boots that they appear as sturdy and permanent as the landscape itself. Their faces, weathered by a lifetime of harsh winters, are full of a quiet, stoic character. They stand behind small, simple tables, offering the fruits of their kitchens. This is not a tourist market. It is a simple, honest transaction that is a core part of the Trans-Siberian experience. Their offerings are a litany of comfort. Steam rises in billowing clouds from a pot of perfectly boiled potatoes, each one a small, warm sun in the palm of a cold hand. In large glass jars, pickled cucumbers and tomatoes float in a clear brine with sprigs of dill. There are small, savory pastries, pierogi filled with cabbage or meat, and perhaps, if we are lucky, smoked amyl, a fish found only in the deep, cold waters of Lake Baikal, its silver skin glistening in the pale light. We approach, and with a few simple gestures and a small number of rubles, a transaction is made. A warm potato is wrapped in a piece of newspaper and placed in our hand. Its warmth seeps through our gloves, a simple, profound comfort. Other passengers are doing the same. A quiet, temporary community forms on the platform. There are no loud conversations, just the quiet murmurs of transaction and the shared, communal experience of stretching one's legs. People walk up and down the length of the train, their breath pluming in the air. A soldier might have a quick, solitary cigarette, the smoke hanging in the frigid air. But always there is an awareness of time. 20 minutes is a small eternity, but it is also finite. The Providnitsa stands watch near the carriage door, a human clock. The train's engine hums, a reminder that its stillness is only temporary. Then comes the signal, a call from the Providnitsa, or a short blast from the train's horn. The quiet urgency returns. The passengers begin to move back towards their respective carriages. We take one last breath of the sharp, cold Siberian air and climb the steps, back into the warm, familiar embrace of our moving home. The door closes. The world outside is silenced once more. With another gentle lurch, the train begins to move. The small station, the platform, the stoic figures of the babushkas begin to slide away. We watch from our window as our 20-minute world recedes, shrinking until it is just another small, forgotten point in the vast, empty landscape. The hypnotic rhythm of the wheels returns, and we are once more enveloped in the long, peaceful dream of the journey. Back in the warm, moving cocoon of the carriage, the rhythm of the wheels quickly reasserts its hypnotic power. The small 20-minute world of the station platform fades into a memory, and we are once more adrift in the vast green and white sea of the taiga. But something has begun to shift. It is not a change in the landscape, but a change in our own perception. A strange, gentle disorientation is setting in. It has to do with the nature of time. On the Trans-Siberian Railway, a curious and unwavering rule governs all. The entire railway, from the suburbs of Moscow to the shores of the Pacific, runs on a single, unified clock, Moscow time, the official timetable posted in the corridor, the opening hours of the dining car, The schedule of the Provenitsa all are anchored to a city that is now a day, and then 2, and then 3 days behind us. Yet, outside our window, the sun, the moon, and the stars follow their own ancient and unyielding rhythm. And as our train pushes ever eastward, the gap between the train's time and the sun's time grows. On the second day, we might wake at 7 in the morning according to our watch, only to find the sun already high and brilliant in the sky. On the fourth day, the dining car might begin serving the evening meal at 5 o'clock. Moscow time, but as we look out the window, we see the sun setting in a blaze of orange and purple. We are eating our dinner at the local dusk. At first, this is a source of gentle confusion. The mind tries to reconcile the two realities. It tries to calculate the local time to hold on to the familiar, rigid structure of a 24-hour day. But the journey is too long, the distance too vast. The effort becomes pointless, and then a quiet and profound moment of surrender occurs. It is an act of liberation. We put away the watch. We stop trying to measure. We let go of the rigid, mechanical time of the outside world and give ourselves over completely to the fluid, organic time of the train. With the clock now absent, we begin to measure the day by a new and far more human set of rhythms. Time is no longer a number, but an experience. The day is not divided into hours and minutes, but into a series of gentle, repeating rituals. Time is measured in cups of tea. The period between one visit to the samovar and the next becomes a unit of measurement in itself. Time is measured by the chapters of a book. The progress of the day is marked not by the hands of a clock, but by the turning of pages, by the slow unfolding of a long Russian novel that seems perfectly suited to the scale of the landscape outside. Time is measured by the landscape itself. A morning can be measured by the length of the shadows of the birch trees. An afternoon can be measured by the slow, subtle shift in the color of the light. Distance is measured in forests, in frozen rivers, in the space between one remote station and the next. And most of all, time is measured by the simple, predictable, and comforting routine of the carriage. There is the time when the Provenitsa sweeps the corridor. There is the time when the attendant from the dining car passes through, taking orders for the evening meal. There is the time when the light outside begins to fail, and we switch on the small, warm lamp in our compartment. To be on this train is to be in a vessel outside of conventional time. It is a slow, 7-day-long meditation on the difference between the time we have constructed and the time that simply is. It is a rare opportunity to be free from the tyranny of the second hand, to let the day unfold according to the needs of the body and the quiet wanderings of the mind. It is one of the most subtle yet most profound gifts of this long and peaceful journey. For days, the world has been a study in 2 dimensions, the vast, flat plane of the earth and the immense, open dome of the sky. The track has been a line of perfect, unwavering straightness, pulling us ever eastward across the great European plain. But after another night of rhythmic sleep, we awaken to a new sensation. A subtle change in the train's familiar rhythm, a slight but persistent feeling of effort, of a gentle but constant climb. We look out the window and the reason becomes clear. The flatness has ended. The earth has begun to ripple. We are approaching the Ural Mountains. This is not a name that conjures images of sharp, dramatic, snow-capped peaks like the Alps or the Himalayas. The Urals are something else entirely. They are among the most ancient mountain ranges on the planet, worn down by over 250 million years of wind, rain, and ice. They are old, sleeping giants, their once jagged teeth ground down into gentle, rounded hills. They do not tear at the sky. They are a soft, low sigh on the horizon. The train does not struggle against them. There are no dramatic switchbacks or deep, dark tunnels. The Trans-Siberian Railway was engineered to find the lowest, most gradual path. The ascent is so gentle it is almost imperceptible, felt more as a change in the engine's song than as a physical climb. The familiar, easy rhythm is now underpinned by a deeper, more resonant hum, the sound of immense power being applied with steady control. The landscape outside changes in character. The endless, airy forests of silver birch begin to give way to denser, darker forests of pine and fir, clinging to the rising slopes. The rivers we cross are no longer the slow, meandering streams of the plains, but faster, more energetic waterways, their beds filled with the smooth, gray stones of the ancient mountains. To cross the Urals is to cross a line that is more than just geographical. This is the great traditional divide between Europe and Asia. For centuries, this was a frontier, a mental and cultural boundary as much as a physical one. To travel east of the Urals was to leave the familiar world behind and to enter the vast, mysterious, and sparsely populated expanse of Siberia. It was to step from one continent into another. The train, in its relentless passage, treats this monumental geographical fact with a quiet indifference. It does not pause for ceremony. It simply continues its climb, pulling our small, warm world of corridors and compartments over the spine of a continent. For a few hours, we are truly in between. We are neither in Europe nor in Asia. We are in a transient space, a quiet green wilderness that belongs to both and to neither. Then, somewhere in the middle of this unassuming landscape, a moment of quiet significance arrives. If we are watching closely, we will see it. A simple, weathered obelisk of stone or concrete stands beside the track. It is not a grand monument, it is a humble, solitary marker. On the western face, the word Europe is carved in Cyrillic letters. On the eastern face, the word Asia. The train glides past it without slowing. It is there, and then it is gone. A fleeting, silent acknowledgement of the immense transition we have just made. To blink is to miss it. This quiet, understated moment is a perfect reflection of the mountains themselves. Ancient, significant, but utterly without drama. After reaching the highest point, the gentle descent begins. The low sun of the afternoon might now be in a different position in the sky. The light itself may seem to have a different quality, a different color. We can now say that we are in Siberia. We are in Asia. The landscape on this eastern side begins to flatten out once more. The engine's deep hum softens as gravity begins to assist its journey. The train finds its easy, hypnotic rhythm again. The great divide has been crossed. The longest part of our journey, the passage through the vast, quiet heart of Siberia, has now truly begun. For days, our world has been the enclosed green and white corridor of the taiga, but a subtle change begins to happen. The forest seems to hold its breath, pulling back from the tracks. A new quality of light fills the air, a vast, silvery brightness that feels different from the filtered sunlight of the woods. A sense of immense openness lies just beyond our view. Inside the carriage, a quiet excitement might pass between the passengers. The whispers of the Pravetnitsa, the gestures of fellow travelers, all point to the window. Something monumental is approaching. The train slows, its rhythm changing as it navigates a series of rocky cuttings and short tunnels. The track clings to the side of a steep hill. And then, as we round a final granite corner, the world opens up and we see it. Lake Baikal. The sight is breathtaking, almost overwhelming. It is not a lake in the ordinary sense. It is an ocean landlocked in the very heart of Asia. It stretches to a horizon so distant that the curvature of the earth is plainly visible. It is a vast, silent, and powerful presence. For the next several hours, this will be our companion. The train track, in a marvel of engineering, is carved directly into the cliffs that line its shore, granting us an uninterrupted, intimate audience with this ancient body of water. The Siberians do not call it a lake. They call it the Slavnoy More, the sacred sea, and it is a place of superlatives. It is the oldest lake on our planet, over 25 million years old. It is the deepest, plunging to a depth of over a mile, and it holds 1/5 of all the world's fresh water, more than all the Great Lakes of North America combined. The water is so pure and so clear that on a calm day, one can see stones and fish 40 meters below the surface. To see Baikal in winter is to witness a world transformed into a work of abstract art. The lake freezes solid, the ice growing to be over a meter thick, strong enough to support the weight of heavy trucks. In the early days of the railway, before the difficult shoreline track was completed, the engineers would lay the train tracks directly onto the surface of the ice in winter, and the entire train would glide impossibly across the frozen sea. The ice is not a flat, uniform white. The immense pressures cause it to crack and heave, creating great fields of jagged, broken ice shards that glitter in the low winter sun. In other places, the wind sweeps the snow away, revealing the pure, black ice below, so clear it looks like a polished floor of obsidian. And where the ice is thickest and purest, it takes on a deep, jewel-like turquoise color, a phenomenon of light and frozen purity that is found nowhere else on Earth. To see Baikal in summer is to see a different kind of perfection. The water is a deep, profound, and almost unbelievable shade of cobalt blue. It is a blue so deep it feels as though you were looking into the heart of the planet itself. The sun glitters on its surface, a million tiny diamonds of light. The train clings to the rocky shoreline, navigating tunnels carved through the cliffs and crossing bridges over streams that cascade down to meet the Great Lake. On the small pebbled beaches, you might see the small, dark forms of the Nerpa, the Baikal seal, the only freshwater seal in the world, a creature found nowhere else, a living testament to the lake's immense age and isolation. For hours, the journey continues along its shore. The rhythmic beat of the wheels on the track is now accompanied by the sight of the endless water. It is a time of quiet contemplation. The sheer scale of the lake has a humbling effect. It is a reminder of the power and permanence of the natural world, and of our own small, transient passage through it. That like all things on this journey, this too is temporary. Eventually, the track begins to curve away from the shoreline. The train turns inland, climbing once more into the familiar embrace of the forest. We watch from the window as the great sacred sea recedes, our final glimpses of its blue or white expanse, framed by the dark trunks of the trees. The world feels smaller again after having been in its presence. The memory of its vast, quiet, ancient spirit is a gift that we will carry with us for the remainder of the journey and long after. For days, we have been carried by a rhythm so constant it has become a part of our breathing. The gentle sway, the steady beat of the wheels. We have been so captivated by the vast landscapes unfolding outside our window that we have scarcely considered the foundation upon which this entire journey rests, the track itself. Let us now, for a time, turn our gaze downwards and contemplate the quiet, monumental achievement that lies beneath us. The Trans-Siberian Railway is not a single grand gesture of creation. It is a monument built from the patient accumulation of millions of identical, repeated actions. It is a story of one wooden sleeper laid upon a bed of gravel, one heavy steel rail lifted into place, one iron spike driven home with a sledgehammer, and then another and another and another, repeated millions of times over 9,000 kilometers. To appreciate the track is to appreciate the profound power of patient, repetitive labor. Let us consider the materials. The foundation of it all is the ballast, a deep bed of crushed, angular stone, which holds the track in place, provides drainage, and discourages the growth of vegetation. Upon this bed rest the sleepers in Russian shaili, millions upon millions of them, hewn from the endless forests of the taiga, soaked in dark, pungent creosote to preserve them against decades of rain and snow and frost. They are the sturdy wooden bones of the railway's great spine, and upon these sleepers rest the rails themselves. long, heavy ribbons of steel, forged in the great foundries of the Ural Mountains. They are the thin, gleaming lines that connect the Baltic to the Pacific, a delicate, man-made thread laid across the vast, rugged fabric of the continent. The hypnotic, rhythmic sound that has been our lullaby for days is the sound of our wheels passing over the tiny, deliberate gaps left between the ends of these rails, a space for the steel to expand in the heat of the brief summer and contract in the profound cold of the long winter. The construction of this line, at the turn of the 20th century, was one of the greatest engineering feats in history. Imagine the quiet, steady rhythm of the work. A team of men, their movements synchronized by a low chant, lifting a single, immensely heavy rail and carrying it into position. The percussive, ringing sound of sledgehammers striking spikes, a sound that would echo for a moment in the immense silence of the forest before being absorbed. The slow, foot by foot, mile by mile advance of the railhead into the empty wilderness. They faced challenges of an almost geological scale, and they overcame them not with haste, but with immense, slow perseverance. The greatest of these was the permafrost. For thousands of kilometers, the Siberian ground is permanently frozen solid, sometimes to a depth of a kilometer or more. Building directly on this frozen soil was impossible. The warmth of the sun and the vibration of the train would melt the top layer, turning the ground into an unstable swamp and causing the tracks to buckle and sink. The solution was one of insulated construction. The workers built a thick, high embankment of gravel and earth, sometimes several meters deep. This embankment acted like a thick blanket, insulating the frozen ground below from the warmth of the surface, ensuring that the permafrost remained permanently frozen and providing a stable, solid foundation for the track. Every kilometer of our smooth, steady journey rests upon this quiet, unseen victory over a permanently frozen world. Then there were the rivers. Siberia is crossed by some of the mightiest rivers on Earth, the Ob, the Yenisei, the Amur. In winter, they are vast, frozen highways of ice. In the spring thaw, they are immense, raging torrents. To cross them required the slow, patient construction of massive steel truss bridges. Their foundations sunk deep into the riverbeds during the brief, frantic summer months. So as we continue our journey, let us listen with a new appreciation to the rhythm of the wheels. Each click-clack is a tribute to a single joint between two rails. Each rail is a testament to the foundry that forged it. Each sleeper is a memory of the forest it came from. And the entire unbroken line, stretching from one horizon to the other, is a quiet, enduring monument to the thousands of anonymous hands that, with slow, patient, and repetitive work, laid this thin, still path across the vast and beautiful emptiness. For what has felt like a lifetime, the world has been defined by the vertical, the endless, repeating lines of the birch and pine trees, a wall of nature enclosing us, guiding our path. But after we pass the Great Lake, a gradual transformation begins. The forest wall starts to crumble. The clearings become larger, more frequent. The sky, once just a narrow ribbon of blue or gray above the treetops, now begins to assert its presence, flooding the landscape with light. And then we come out of the last grove of trees, and the world changes completely. The vertical world is gone. We have entered a world of the horizontal. We have arrived on the steppe. The change is breathtaking in its scale and simplicity. The forest has vanished, and in its place is a vast, rolling, empty sea of grass stretching in every direction to a horizon so distant, and so sharp it feels as though you could slice a finger on it. After days of the enclosed, intimate perspective of the taiga, the sudden, shocking immensity of this open space can feel like stepping from a small room onto the deck of a great ship in the middle of the ocean. The mind, accustomed to the close presence of the trees, now has nothing to hold on to, and it expands outwards to fill the immense void. The character of the steppe is one of minimalist, profound beauty. In the brief green flush of early summer, it is a rolling ocean of vibrant green, dotted with the bright, ephemeral colors of wildflowers. In the late summer, as we see it now, it is a more somber and meditative landscape. The grasses have been cured by the sun to a pale golden brown, an endless field of ochre and tan that ripples and flows in the constant wind. It is a landscape of subtle, shifting color, a canvas of earth tones painted on a continental scale. With the disappearance of the trees, the sky becomes the dominant feature of the world. It is no longer a ceiling, but an immense, all-encompassing dome of blue. The clouds that drift across it are vast and architectural, their slow, silent passage casting huge, moving shadows upon the plains below. To watch the sky from the train window on the step is to witness a slow, celestial ballet, a drama of light and shadow that plays out over hours and hundreds of kilometers. The hypnotic rhythm of the train continues its endless beat, but the feeling is different now. In the forest, the train felt like it was in a corridor, a protected channel. Here, on the open steppe, it feels more exposed, more solitary. It is a tiny, fragile, man-made object, a single straight line drawn across an immense, empty, and gracefully curved world. The journey feels grander now, the scale more cosmic. Life on the steppe is scarce and scattered, which makes its appearance all the more significant. The eye becomes attuned to the smallest of details in the vast emptiness. We might watch for hours and see nothing but the endless grass and sky. Then a new shape appears. A small herd of wild horses, grazing peacefully in the distance, their coats the same color as the dry grass. They lift their heads as the train passes, watching for a moment before returning to their quiet work. Or perhaps we see the most iconic symbol of this landscape, a lone rider, a tiny vertical silhouette on the immense horizontal plain, sitting still on their horse, watching the great iron serpent of the train glide past on its mysterious journey. There is no interaction, just a moment of shared, silent acknowledgement across a vast distance. These small moments, the sight of an eagle circling high in the vast blue, the dark, circular shape of a distant yurt, the brief passage of another human being, are imbued with a profound significance. They are quiet reminders of the life that this great emptiness supports, and they serve only to heighten the sense of its immense, tranquil, and beautiful scale. The train continues its steady, rhythmic passage, no longer a traveler in a forest, but a small, quiet vessel sailing peacefully across the great, golden ocean of the Siberian steppe. On the seventh morning, we awaken to the same familiar rhythm, the same gentle sway, the same steady beat of the wheels. And yet something is different. It is an almost imperceptible shift in the atmosphere, a change in the character of the journey. The feeling of infinite, endless travel has been replaced by a quiet sense of approach, of conclusion. The journey is no longer an endless state of being. It has become a finite story, and we are now entering its final chapter. The landscape outside has not yet changed dramatically, but the light that falls upon it seems different, softer. Perhaps there is a subtle, salty haze on the distant horizon, a telltale sign of a great body of water somewhere ahead. The Pacific Ocean, though we cannot yet see or smell it, its immense presence seems to charge the air. Inside the carriage, the familiar routine begins to subtly unravel. The Providnitsa is a little busier, her movements more purposeful as she begins her preparations for the final arrival in Vladivostok. Other passengers, who for days have been quiet presences in their own compartments, are now seen more often in the corridor, their expressions a mixture of quiet anticipation and a certain sadness for the journey's end. The most tangible sign of this impending arrival begins with a simple, personal ritual, the slow and methodical packing of one's bag. This is the reverse of the ritual of settling in that we performed in Moscow. The book that has been our constant companion for 1,000 kilometers is closed for the last time and placed inside the bag. The few personal items that have made this small space a home are gathered and put away. The compartment, which has been our private sanctuary, our cocoon, is slowly and deliberately being returned to its original impersonal state. Each folded item, each object placed in the bag, is an act of farewell to the timeless, fluid world of the train and a preparation for the structured, stationary world that awaits. There is a final, more poignant ritual to be performed. We take our mug and walk, one last time, down the familiar corridor to the ever-present heart of the carriage. The samovar. It has been our constant source of warmth and comfort. We fill our cup, the steam billowing up just as it always has, but this time the act is different. This is the last cup of tea. We carry it back to our compartment and sit by the window. The warmth of the mug in our hands feels more precious now. We sip it slowly, and with each sip, we reflect on the immense distance we have covered. We think of the birch forest, the station stops, the ancient mountains, the sacred sea of Baikal, the endless steppe. It all feels like a long, continuous, and beautiful dream. This final cup of tea is a quiet toast to the journey itself. As the day wears on, we savor the last moments of the train's unique rhythm. We are more acutely aware of the gentle sway, of the steady clickety-clack of the wheels. It is a sound that has become a part of us, the background music to our thoughts and our sleep for a full week. Soon, it will stop. The silence it leaves will feel strange, even loud. The final sunset of the journey is an event of particular bittersweet beauty. We watch as the sun sinks below the horizon of the Asian mainland. We know that the next time we see it set, we will be standing on solid ground, our journey over. The fading light seems to mark not just the end of a day, but the end of an era, the end of our life within this moving world. On this final night, sleep is different. The familiar lullaby of the wheels is now a countdown. Each beat is one less that remains of the journey. We listen to it in the darkness, trying to commit the sound, the feeling, the gentle motion to memory, knowing that soon it will be just an echo in our minds, a lingering rhythm from a long and peaceful dream. The last night on the train is a night of transition. We sleep, for the last time, to the familiar rhythm of the wheels, but the dreams are different. They are filled with a quiet anticipation. When we awaken, the world outside our window has been remade. The vast, empty spaces of Siberia have been replaced by the dense, complex patterns of a city. The lights we saw on the horizon have grown, coalesced, and become Vladivostok, the ruler of the East. The train begins its final deceleration. The journey's great hypnotic. The steady clickety-clack that has been the soundtrack to our lives for a week begins to break down. It softens, slows, and resolves back into the individual, percussive sounds of the station yard. A slow, deliberate ka-thunk, ka-thunk, as we glide over the final set of points. The change in rhythm is a signal to the body and the mind. The long meditation is coming to an end. We glide past rows of stationary freight cars, past the windows of the railway workshops, and then we see it. The long, elegant platform of Vladivostok's main railway station. It is a beautiful, historic building, its style echoing the Art Nouveau elegance of the era in which it was completed. It feels like a fitting and slightly nostalgic bookend to the grand station we left behind in Moscow, what seems like a lifetime ago. With a final long and deeply satisfying hiss of the air brakes, the train comes to a complete stop. And then there is a silence more profound than any we have experienced in the empty wilderness. It is the silence of accomplished motion, the end of the rhythm. The great journey is over. The Providnitsa opens the carriage door one last time. We gather our bags from our small compartment, which now feels strangely large and empty. We take a final look at the space that has been our entire world, our sanctuary, our home. We walk down the now stationary corridor and exchange a final, quiet, and respectful nod with our carriage's guardian. We descend the steep metal steps, and our feet touch the solid, unmoving ground of the platform. The feeling is strange. The body, for a few moments, still holds the memory of the train's gentle sway. We feel a phantom motion, the ghost of the journey still echoing within us. This is the feeling of return, the slow recalibration to a stationary world. We stand on the platform and look at the object that marks our destination. A simple stone obelisk, a milestone marker. On it is a number, 9,288. 9,288 kilometers. It is a simple number, but it represents a journey across 2 continents, 7 time zones, and the full, immense breadth of the largest nation on Earth. We turn and look back at the train. The long green carriages, which have been our constant moving companion, now sit silent and inert. It is just a machine again. Its great work is done. Passengers, now just travelers in a city, begin to disperse their quiet. Shared community dissolving as they step out into their individual lives. We take our bag and begin to walk towards the station's grand exit. Behind us, the train hisses softly, as if in a final, quiet exhalation. The journey is over, but the rhythm of the wheels still echoes in our ears. The memory of the vast, silent landscapes is now a permanent part of our own inner world. The deep, hypnotic peace of the long passage does not end when we step onto the platform. It is a feeling we carry with us, a quiet and steady rhythm that continues to beat long after the great train has come to a stop at the very edge of the Pacific. And so, the great train comes to rest at the edge of the sea. The wheels have stopped turning. The endless track has reached its end, but the rhythm remains, a gentle echo in the mind, a ghost of the journey rocking you softly now. The long passage is over, and your own long day is now at its close. There are no more forests to cross, no more time zones to traverse. There is only the deep, quiet stillness of the final destination. Let the memory of the rhythm be your lullaby. Sleep well.